The Nets won a dozen games a year ago. They just blew everything up, okay? Got the new owner. Comrade Prokhorov is in charge. And they got the new GM, the new coach, some new players. But Prokhorov wants to get to the playoffs this year, and he says he can win a title in 5.
We plan to build a championship team, minimum in 1 year, maximum in 5. And I think as soon as we move to Brooklyn, we will have a very good, profitable business platform.
Overall, it's going to be about a new era in New Jersey. You've got Avery Johnson as the new head coach, certainly new leadership all the way around. It's going to be about building a better foundation. The thing about New Jersey is they still are looking for that superstar to build around. It's a great young roster, talking about Terrence Williams, Brook Lopez, probably one of the best young big men in the Eastern Conference. You know, Devin Harris, who was an all-star 2 seasons ago. There's a lot of good pieces in place in New Jersey, just not that one player to bring it all together. But when you look at all of the assets and an owner like Mikhail Prokhorov that really wants to win now, it will be interesting to see how New Jersey shakes out.
We have breaking news to tell you about. After losing out on the Carmelo Anthony sweepstakes to the New York Knicks, Mikhail Prokhorov and the New Jersey Nets landed an all-star of their own in the form of Utah's Deron Williams. The Nets will send guard Devin Harris and rookie Derek Favors, along with 2 first-round picks, to the Jazz to complete the deal for the all-star point guard.
Now, Deron Williams isn't eligible to sign an extension. He's on he's signed up for next year,
right.
$18 million a year. Then he could opt out and become a free agent in 2012. Obviously, the Nets want to lock him up to a long-term extension. They want him to be the superstar they build around when they go to Brooklyn. And he's also arguably the best point guard in the league. Guys know he makes his teammates better.
The New Jersey Nets. Big move last year getting Deron Williams. Keeping him is going to be another story.
Hopefully we can get some good talent to where I can stay, because I think that this is a great organization. You know, they're heading in a great direction, especially with the move to Brooklyn, the new arena. Everything is in place. You know, and I think we're going to get players. You know, I think guys are going to want to come play in Brooklyn and play with me.
He has to figure out a way to sit down with Billy King. I want to stay, but what pieces are you going to bring around so I have a chance to compete for a championship each year?
Prediction for the Nets, what do you think?
Rebuild. Is that Russian rebuild? I mean, you know your situation. Brooks going to be a solid piece. Keep Deron Williams healthy and happy, and now bringing some more pieces. You're rebuilding for the future.
Gerald Wallace has been traded to the New Jersey Nets for Mehmet Okur and Sean Williams, and as a Nets fan, this is a really good move going forward. Hopefully this move will entice Deron Williams to stay with the New Jersey Nets. They gave up a first-round draft pick, but that's not even that big of a deal for getting Gerald Wallace. He is definitely worth it, way worth it.
Obviously, we can't wait to get to Brooklyn. It's going to be a huge part of history. Blessed to be a part of that. But Jersey, you know, the fans are great. I don't think they ever really recovered from that 12-70 season in terms of, you know, just the momentum with us and everything.
I'm not going to the Nets game tonight, and my message to the Nets is goodbye. You don't want to stay, we don't want you. They want to leave here and go to Brooklyn, good riddance. See you later.
Right now, Joe Johnson has officially been traded to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for some scrub players and a first-round pick. So I think Deron Williams is going to end up signing with the Brooklyn Nets. He's going to like seeing that Joe Johnson on his side now, even though Joe Johnson's a borderline all-star player and he has the worst contract in the NBA right now.
They started 11-4, but since have only won 3 of their last 13 games, and thus today the Nets have made a coaching change. They have fired Avery Johnson after a 14-14 start, where they are now at the bottom of the Eastern Conference playoff standings.
Well, this is a team that everyone knows had very high expectations coming into this season. They actually were talking about, you know, contending for a trip to the NBA Finals, and obviously they've fallen very short of that.
They've had trouble here getting Deron Williams or Joe Johnson in rhythm. Here they are with this all-star backcourt. It's not working out so far. Do you get a sense that the players were vying for this change?
We know Deron Williams came out and said that, you know, he's a system guy and that Avery's offense really wasn't working for him and wasn't the offense for him.
It's an exciting day for the Brooklyn Nets to have a chance to introduce Jason Kidd as our next head coach. When this process started and talk with Mikhail and ownership, we were looking for a coach that's going to have great leadership.
I think it's a good hire for the Nets. This is what I don't like about it for Jason Kidd. I think it goes above Billy King. I think it goes to Mikhail Prokhorov, the owner. I think their expectations are unrealistic. Hugh, as soon as he walks in the door, think about this cast. Deron Williams, you have Joe Johnson, Gerald, Wallace, Brook Lopez. The expectation is to win a world championship right off the bat for Jason Kidd. Look how quickly they've gotten rid of other coaches. Avery Johnson, PJ Carlissimo. Even after the records they've had, PJ Carlissimo had a great record, 39-15. Bye-bye.
Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Jason Terry, all going to the Brooklyn Nets. Celtics get 3 number ones, 2014, 2016, 2018. Humphreys, Wallace, Evans.
Bill, what's your reaction? You can't wait to get a Gerald Wallace jersey.
Gerald Wallace's contract is terrible. It's $30 million for 3 years. That's a big contract to take on for 3 number 1 picks that aren't lottery picks. I thought this was 35 cents on the dollar. There's no guarantee that any of those picks will get in the lottery. I don't like the trade.
You have a situation where the Brooklyn Nets can legitimately put 4 shooters out on the court at the same time to close the deal for you. If Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Deron Williams, and Joe Johnson are on the court to close the game for you, you don't know who's going to hurt you. I'm sorry. This makes them incredibly formidable. I'm talking about formidable enough to be considered a threat to the Miami Heat that we just saw. When you talk about championships, the Brooklyn Nets are officially in the conversation. Billy King is on watch because he is a general manager who I believe is very, very capable and very solid. But at the same time, there's no championship on his resume. And you gave up 3 first-round picks. You know, you gave up something to get these boys.
I would have done it. I like the game.
I would have done it as well. I'm just saying it has to deliver something.
Okay.
Let's talk about Spillgate, Skip Bayless. What do you think about that move?
But clearly, my man Jason Kidd is lying through his teeth. We all know this. We saw it. It was clear as day. He told Tyshawn Taylor to hit him. And that's exactly what happened because they had no timeouts with 8.3 seconds left, and they were desperate to call up a play and make a substitution. But it's primarily because this team is losing games. They're 4-11. They've been anything but impressive.
Second, Jim Butler.
Experience in their roster. Obviously, Deron Williams and Brook Lopez, your 2 best players, are out. But still, you surmise they would be better.
Tim, how did this fall apart so quickly?
First couple months of the season were pretty rough. Nets went 10-21. Jason Kidd and Lawrence Frank had a falling out after Kidd pursued him all summer. Ended up reassigning Frank to file on daily reports. Guys got injured. Brook Lopez is out for the season. Things looked like they were falling apart. All of a sudden, they turned it around, have the second best record in the Eastern Conference in the second half of the season, get to the second round of the playoffs, and then after everything like it was going well, Jason Kidd goes to ownership, asked for total control of basketball operations, be put above Billy King on the organizational hierarchy, among other things. Those demands were rejected by ownership, who didn't think he was ready for them. Bucks came in and asked for permission to speak to him, and now, a couple days later, Jason's off to Milwaukee, and the Nets are looking for a new coach.
Lionel Hollins, the Nets about to finalize a deal to be the next head coach. What are your initial thoughts when I say it? Mark Stein, by the way, reporting that, Chris.
This is what we expected. Billy King has always been high on Lionel Hollins, considered him strongly before they hired Jason Kidd.
Pierce says he's in a better place than he was last season when he was with the Nets. He described his experience there as horrible and said the team had a bad attitude. Pierce had this to say to about Deron Williams. Before I got there, I looked at Deron as an MVP candidate, but I felt once we got there, that's not what he wanted to be. He just didn't want that. I think a lot of that pressure got to him sometimes. This was his first time in the national spotlight. The media in Utah is not the same as the media in New York, so that can wear on some people. I think it really affected him.
All the way back to when this show was based in New York and it was called Cold Pizza, I said again and again on the air, and I took a lot of flack for it, Deron Williams is overrated. And I meant overrated because he was being rated as an annual MVP candidate, to Paul's point. Or in his defense, how many times has he been hurt since he's been a Net?
He's one thing legitimately for him, the ankle.
Yeah.
He's had a bevy of injuries.
A bevy of injuries.
Yeah, no question. We can't fault him for that.
No, you can't.
Those are injuries. You're looking at Billy King a little bit differently now, my man, because Billy King, obviously, at the behest of Prokhorov, the owner, invested $98 million in him.
Prior to last season, the Nets made a bold step in their pursuit of a championship, sending a host of assets to Boston for a package that centered on Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. Pierce departed this past summer, and in the wake of yesterday's trading deadline, Garnett is no longer a Net either.
It helped give us a little bit of an identity. I think their leadership and what they were able to bring to our guys, I think our guys are better for it. Did we get to our goal of winning championship? No, but I think we were able to go further than we had gone. But I think when we made that deal this past offseason, we decided to start getting a little younger. The goal is to try to start bringing in guys to sort of replace some of those picks, Corey, Markelle. So that has been a conscious effort also. I think that in giving up what we did, it was a combination. One, the move a contract was one pick, and to get Paul, so it was a combination of things. I don't think you just look at one player and say, that's why you gave it up. I think it was more of a combination of things.
They re-signed Brook Lopez and Thaddeus Young and tried to basically sell it. They're the new core. And they also introduced newcomers Thomas Robinson and Shane Larkin. The one guy that wasn't mentioned at all was Deron Williams, which was mystifying considering this guy 3 years ago was brought in as one of the best point guards in the sport. So it was very mystifying Williams wasn't mentioned. And there's a reason why he wasn't, because just hours later it came out he was seeking a buyout so he could go sign with the Dallas Mavericks. It's a great move. I mean, it's addition by subtraction. They clear a ton of cap space, and he didn't fit here. And this is a guy who would constantly show up his teammates on the court. He was a real nasty presence, I think, in that locker room. I think this team, I think they're thrilled he's gone.
The Nets' problems have snowballed of late, including the loss of point guard Jarrett Jack to a torn ACL and reports of trying to trade or perhaps buy out veteran guard Joe Johnson. Now, head coach Lionel Hollins is out, Billy King reassigned, and only the Philadelphia 76ers are keeping the Nets out of the basement of the Eastern Conference.
Owner Mikhail Prokhorov said in a statement that it's time for a fresh start and new vision when making these changes.
They need a new vision. Mikhail Prokhorov should look in the mirror because the vision that they've had that Billy King has been executing has been Mikhail Prokhorov's vision. Remember, when he took over the Nets, he made a big deal out of, we're going to own New York, we're going to steal Knicks fans. They put up that big, audacious billboard across from the Garden with Prokhorov and Jay-Z on it saying, blueprint for greatness. But the other team does know that Billy King is under the gun to make splashy moves one after the other, because that's what Mikhail Prokhorov wanted. That's what Dmitry Razumov, his role was as that conduit between Prokhorov and the front office of the Nets. Remember, Prokhorov is an absentee owner. He comes to Brooklyn a handful of times per year, but they mortgaged obviously a ton of the future to put together that core that they had, and it never really measured up. And yeah, whoever comes in next, it's not just that this is a losing team, a team that's devoid of enough talent. It's a team that it's going to be very difficult to start building up again because there is a deficit running years out, as you guys showed.